Find a way to really enjoy what you do, enjoy your craft, whatever that might be inside the business.
Yeah.
You're always going to be ambitious, but if you don't really love what you do, then there's frustration. Frustration kicks in, and that's going to be disappointment. But if you love what you do, then maybe it's okay.
The JON SECADA story is like a movie that's going to be produced, that's going to inspire generations, John, for what you have done and what you're still doing is really, really amazing. So thanks for joining us.
No, thanks. It's great to be here.
Tell me where in the beginning part of your life, how did music grab you and become a part of your way of life?
I think I was inspired early on through the public school systems here in South Florida.
Interesting.
I kind of always knew that I could sing maybe early on, and when I left Cuba and as we kind of in our immigration path and journey before we came to the States, I guess music was something that I was always interested in, but it wasn't until I really got to high school that I really got deep into it. And I was inspired by my high school music teacher. So that was the first person that saw the passion that I had for music, that I could have for it, and she gave me the confidence to go for it, at least exploring whatever I had inside of me.
Well, what a beautiful story. And it's interesting because now the music programs in the public school system in America are really being challenged, and there isn't as much support for the music programs, but to have that story is very, very helpful.
Absolutely.
To maybe give a boost more to the music industry.
Oh yeah,
inside the school systems.
If it hadn't been for my experience attached to the public school systems here and theater as well in high school, I wouldn't have a career because I wouldn't have had the inspiration to want to go to college and to pursue, I guess, what became the next level of my journey.
So in college you went for a jazz vocal major?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. The University of Miami was a great school.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stay in town. It was the closest school that had a program that dealt with commercial music. I knew that maybe I wasn't really a classical type of singer, but the University of Miami offered that's something that dealt with, again, as close to commercial music as possible. Actually, at first, when I first got to the university, there wasn't even a jazz vocal program.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't. So I went on, inspired by my music teacher. I got accepted as music education major, and I was a music education major for 2 years until Larry Lappin, the head of the jazz vocal studies department, started this new program. And I basically was kind of one of the first guinea pigs of it. But in a good way.
Wow, so the program starts, you join the program. Had you been singing with different bands or different people at that time?
No, I was just concentrating on my studies and involved with different ensembles, different things, all including a jazz vocal ensemble at the university. Eventually, come my third year, that's when Mr. Lappin got the school to go for it. But yeah, there was already some involvement. A lot of things were going on in terms of ensembles and things that dealt with jazz music.
Yeah, so
for vocalists.
Who were some of your influences vocal-wise? Were you listening to anybody in particular?
Early on, I was a sponge to just the great singers. I still feel they're so influential early on for me. Classic icons, from Tony Bennett to Frank Sinatra to some female vocalists, Ella Fitzgerald to Sarah Vaughan.
Beautiful.
And that's a lot of instrumentalists as well, because that was the thing about where the University of Miami, that once the program started, it was the integration of vocalists with instrumentalists. And I was seeing so many great players all around me.
Nice.
that I was inspired by that. And I'm very proud to say that I went to a college that I could call myself a musician attached to that, even though I was a vocalist. Yeah. But even when I talk to friends of mine that I graduated from that are instrumentalists, and they appreciate the fact that the work that vocalists did to kind of position themselves to be called musicians as well.
Yeah. But you really found, you have influenced by these great people, but you have your own style, you have your own sound, you have your own phrasing in how you do this here. Did you pull from everybody as a part of that? Or, I mean, where'd that come from?
Well, what eventually became the fusion of what I know as an artist and as a songwriter, it came from some different places. Obviously, my studies of jazz, but then eventually I started to kind of go back and think about where I came from as a Hispanic American, as a Caribbean kid. Yeah. Living in Miami in South Florida, then you had the opportunity to be surrounded by so many styles of music. It's wonderful. Yeah. So you get the opportunity to listen to tropical music as well as dance music. Back in the time that I was really growing up, late '70s, early '80s, and moving on when I was going to college, and I kind of started to realize, well, utilizing my studies, how can I go ahead and, especially towards the end of my college career, and when I graduated, and I started to work around town, and began to write songs, how can I pull ideas from different places to make a difference? And I think that's what eventually became my thing. And people kind of understood that was my thing. Okay, so he's a Latino kid that can sing in English, even though he's Latino, his thing is really more R&B. Yeah. When he sings, he's has more like a flair of a soulful type of thing. Because at the same time, then my influences became what I was listening to the radio. Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. Yeah. There's some other singer-songwriters, Elton John, Billy Joel. Yeah. So that was, again, it was a big mesh of so many wonderful styles of music.
But nobody was really doing that. I mean, you were really pulling, influences and having that Latin influence. You opened up a whole nother door that really wasn't opened up before.
When my career started, I worked with the Estefans, Gloria Estefan, Emilio Estefan for many years, and I learned a lot from them. Yeah. And the beauty of fusion, the beauty of enjoying being bilingual, and then really appreciating how to combine styles. And so I took it to that place, especially kind of mixing it in with my love for R&B and pop. Yeah. And in the early '90s, I worked with the Estefan for 18 years, and it took us a while to kind of get the right mix, especially when it came when it came time for me to become an artist and to find my sound. It took us a while, to the point that sometimes I thought that I wasn't going to get it, because it was just it's difficult, obviously you're just trying to break through, but eventually we found that mix of just the blend of what I would bring to the table based on all those different styles, and the early '90s were a wonderful time. But then I had the example of what Gloria Estefan was doing. Historically then seeing what was happening what happened with so many great artists, and seeing, Feliciano has done it, Santana has done it, and even listen to Julio Iglesias, who had just come up with some music during that time. So wait a minute, how can I pull this all in with my vibe, with this R&B thing? And that's what we did. And the early '90s was a big time for Latin crossover.
Oh, it was huge.
Very big.
But what's interesting, when you came out of school, how'd you meet up with Emilio and Gloria? Where did that start?
Well, that relationship started me working here in Miami, top 40 band, and with guys that I went to college with. And I credit my education for a lot of things, not only what I learned, but also the network of people, the camaraderie of so many guys that to this day are a part of my life, and that's how I got to meet the Estefans. Because then in this town, the musicians that were known at the time that maybe had a lot of things going on, a lot of them came out of the University of Miami. And I was in a band that was, all of us came from the University of Miami School of Music. And Emilio heard us one night, or heard the band that one night. Then he was looking for new musicians, and that got the ball rolling. And eventually he wanted to work with me, and it just kind of snowballed. It snowballed as a result of the relationships that I had with these guys in the band. And it's been wonderful, wonderful experience knowing that how much I credit my education for that. Because if it hadn't been for that, then I wouldn't have been in the place, the right time, the right situation to to really have had the career that I've had.
Well, what a beautiful testimony to the educational system. I mean, what is it about Miami? Having been down here now for a few days, there is a family of musicians and a camaraderie and a teamwork and a respect and a love of musicians that is so beautiful to see. And rarely have I ever seen this in my global travel, so this is very special. What is it about Miami that brings that out?
Really, I can only speak for, especially the network of guys that I've known for so many years, and the largest percentage of them, they're from where I went to school, the University of Miami. There's an appreciation and a respect for the fact that we all kind of came up the ranks, worked really hard, take advantage of the opportunities that this town had to offer to so many different things going on, especially again in the 80s and 90s. There was a lot of activity, and even in the early 2000s, a lot of things going on. And if you were a hardworking musician, decent musician, then you know you could get breakthrough. And I think there was a lot of us that, again, through the years, now have just created this unity based on everything that we've lived over the last, at this point, over the last 30 years. You know, and time flies, but and 30 years later, 30 years, well, more than 30 years now, what I'm talking about, like really more like 35. But it's wonderful. And now this different generations. So there's a generation that's attached to when I went to college. There's even a generation before mine that also dealt with a lot of great musicians a few years back before me, the Pat Metheny's, the Bruce Hornsby's. I mean, these are all people that went through the University of Miami. So that then came my generation of guys, and then there's been other decades after that that have created other great guys that I keep working with, that I work with every day, and that I don't know, the network keeps going.
You're with the Estefans and you're playing. Where did the solo career start to evolve? Where did that come from?
Right at the onset, when Emilio decided to sign me, he knew that eventually, he told me that in his plans, it was for me to become an artist was something that was important. He knew that was important to me and important to him. He wanted to do that. I think that at first, though, he felt just as important, equally important, for me to be established as a songwriter and as a producer of sorts in the studio, working at different levels, different things going on, and to really know what the inner workings of how to create the music. And I really, really appreciate that, because then, again, gave me the opportunity to hone in whatever I could do as a singer, as a musician. In the studio, share whatever I had to offer with other musicians, other singers, becoming a vocal producer, especially for a lot of different projects that dealt with my education and how to go ahead and utilize whatever was a part of who I was, because I was a teacher for a long time too. I taught at Miami-Dade College for close to 5 years, and vocal studies and theory and humanities, all kinds of stuff. And so I brought that to the table when I started to work with the Estefans. That was a really great time for me, even though of course, my dream was to be an artist, but I became a songwriter, musician, a blue collar guy first. And to this day, I kind of think about that first before anything else. And that actually created even more that closer camaraderie with all these guys that I've worked with through the years, because we all kind of, they saw me, we all saw each other kind of work the same way, just hustling to be a part of projects, be a part of whatever was going on that we could take advantage of. And I was lucky to work with a great production company, Emilio's production company, that had a lot of wonderful projects. And so it took like 5 years before I was able to even break through to kind of, create my thing, doing demos and things, and then nothing was clicking. It took a while for me to find my sound.
Well, it's really nice when you say blue collar. I love that level of great humility that you have, that you still see that as an important part of your focus of where you are as a person. Where did the writing come from? I mean, are you inspired certain ways? What's the process? Because
the songwriting, really the focus of it started as a collaborative effort, because I really enjoy working with musicians at different levels. So that's how I learned to be a songwriter. Not really by myself, but working with others and kind of bringing my ideas and talking about them and just fusing whatever I was going through my head, working with other people. And I, especially when I started to work with Emilio, because I had written some songs prior to working with the Estefans when I got signed, but not to the level when I started to work with him, because there was so much stuff that I could take advantage of if I was writing songs every day. And the way that I felt that I could do that and learn and contribute, hopefully, good ideas, was to be able to get together with different guys. And I was a chameleon. I was, to the process, and I was writing every day with different people.
Where do you think your inspiration comes from for writing?
My inspiration, I started listening to the radio. When I really think about being a songwriter, that's what I think about most. And I grew up listening to the radio, pop singers, songwriters. My influences, of course, became a huge part of who I am as a songwriter and producer and stuff, and artist as well. But the radio, whatever was popular, that also was honest and kind of struck a nerve for me. And then that's where I started to enjoy what became my heroes. The Stevie Wonders, the Billy Joels, the Elton Johns, and bands, the Earth, Wind and Fires, and the Marvin Gaye's, and so.
Great music.
Great music.
Great music.
Yeah. That was it. The radio. And then after that, how to go ahead and how to utilize then what I bring to the table based on my fusion to create songs that maybe, hopefully, can be radio friendly. Yeah. Hopefully, if I can get that far.
It worked. It worked, and still working.
Thank you.
You seem to balance the artistic side so well. You balance the business side, because you're involved in several things business-wise, and you also balance the personal side. How do you find that balance in all that? How do you do that?
Oh, a lot of reflection, a lot of communication at different levels, especially at home. Communication, what happens at my house, with my family, my wife, my kids. Communication with the guys that I work with. And there's always that sense of knowing where I came from. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm an immigrant that just was very, very, very fortunate, very lucky to have come to the States, to be able to fulfill my American dream. It doesn't, for me, that's a blessing. And even, attached to my career, when I graduated from college, which was another, me going to college was a miracle, because we didn't have any money. I had to loans, this, that. I mean, I do what to be able to go to school. To graduate, to work in music, I was already, awesome. I was a winner. and then to meet the Estefans, and I remember at one point talking to Emilio and letting him know, look, if things don't work out with my career, I'm good. I mean, as a solo artist, whatever. Because I was working, I was writing songs, I was doing sessions, I was still working around town. I was making a living as a musician. And that's when I realized that I guess maybe what really my ambition represented. It was the fact that I was really enjoying my craft, And that's something that I try to pass on to any young musician, any young person that really wants to get into the business, is to find a way to really enjoy what you do, enjoy your craft, whatever that might be inside the business. Because then that's really the essence of what you want to do, because you're always going to be ambitious, but if you don't really love what you do, then there's frustration kicks in, and that's going to be disappointment. But if you love what you do, then maybe it's okay.
That is a huge message. And the American dream, they speak about coming to America and developing a career in whatever field that someone wants. You are an absolutely great example of that. But the balance of your humility and the balance of your talent, you say you were blessed by having that. It is America and the world who has been blessed by your talent. Because what you have given to the world, John, is the music you sing. It lifts people up. It brings people to a higher spiritual level. And this is something which we really can't take lightly. What you're doing is powerful. The message is giving goosebumps and chills to people. And you're reaching them at such a level that that message alone is what you have lifted and enhanced the American dream.
Thank you for saying that. Having both feet on the ground, it all starts with that for me. Really, just kind of being very realistic, and just appreciating every step of the way. Again, knowing what my family went through to leave Cuba, knowing everything that we've been through. I mean, I was raised an only child, and just to be able to have gotten this far, and now to try to pass the same message starting with my own children, and then pass it on to young people. I'm a still big believer in education, so hopefully it deals with who you're all about, how you start, and that continuing thing of where you want to finish. If you still enjoy the business or enjoy whatever you do. But for me, that all these things really start with the fact that I just thank God every day that everything that I'm all about, from the minute that I got to this country, that I've been just very fortunate, very lucky.
Well, what a great lesson when people say, understand where you came from to understand where you're going. Well, that's a great lesson that you still maintain that every day, that you remember where you came from, so you understand that what you have and how blessed you are. But the giving part of it, I mean, you've got several humanitarian things that you're doing. Humanitarian of the Year 2016 by the Muhammad Ali Foundation. This is deep.
That was a very endearing award. That was amazing. I mean, that to be recognized by someone that represented so much, attached to some everything, so many things that were a part of his career, and just to be recognized in that way, that meant a lot to me. That it really did, especially as a Hispanic American.
But you're doing some great things. I mean, you're really, my gosh, involved with so many parts of just giving back. So many causes: the Hispanic American children, the education of the AIDS research, child abuse. I mean, you really still believe that that's a part of giving back that's enhancing you as a person. But look at the difference that you're making.
Yeah, I think for any public figure, it's almost a responsibility. I mean, whatever it might be. Some of us do it more privately than others in terms of what we're involved in. Sometimes we do it more public, obviously. But I think it's a responsibility to try to give something back. I mean, we've all enjoyed at different levels so many things from everything that's, at least for me, so many things that I've been blessed with. So giving back is important. Share my experiences at the same time as I give back, and whether it's financially or otherwise through my talent or my career, and connect with people, younger. It's because that's just a thing. I think the more that we connect, maybe we're with a new generation, so that they understand. I guess the process of life. Hopefully, the things that matter, responsibility, social responsibility. Now more than ever, I think we need it so much.
It's amazing because with all the millions of records you've sold and with all the producing and the arranging, all that's one part of it. Then there's this humanitarian side of it, that's another part of it. And then there's the education side. The education side to me is beautiful, that you still go out and do these seminars and still go out and speak to young kids. This is powerful.
Yeah, I do stuff for the University of Miami all the time, especially a part attached to the School of Music, of course. And if it wasn't for education, I would not be here today. And it dates back for me to my high school, Miss Van Antwerp, my high school music teacher. Her inspiration is the reason that I'm here.
How beautiful. How beautiful.
Really
as a mentor, as she was for you, I'm sure you've had many mentors. What do you think they saw in you? What was it that they saw, that they felt that you had this? They wanted you to be successful. They wanted you to go for your dream. They wanted to push you. What did they see in you?
That's a good question. I think, and I've had different mentors at different times, and actually the two instances of two big mentors in my career, they both didn't deal with education. My high school music teacher and Larry Lappin, which was the head of the jazz vocal department at the University of Miami for many years, and they both saw me at my most vulnerable. Ms. Van saw me. She didn't know me from Adam because I hadn't done anything in music until the day that after school I went to the music room, and they were rehearsing for something, and I asked her, "Ma'am, can can I want to be involved in music. I just said that. Can I, I'm a singer. Can I sing for you? And she's like, well, who are you? What do you mean can you sing? What do you know? It was like that. When I went to college, my first week auditioning, I knew that I wanted to be a part of the jazz vocal ensemble, but I was so raw because I was very, very green in terms of anything dealing with music. Could not read music. I had nothing, but I just knew that music is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and same scenario. I just went to Mr. Lappin and I said, "Sir, I would like to try out for the jazz vocal ensemble, but I'm not prepared. I don't know what I would like to sing for you." and he goes, and he was very cool. He goes, "Well, are you Latino?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm Cuban. Oh, so how about, do you know a bolero? Maybe you know some boleros?" I say, "Yeah, I know some boleros." So do you know this bolero? He says, "Yeah, tú me acostumbraste, you know that? Yeah. All right, you want to sing that?" There. It was like, again, they saw in me that genuine instinctive passion and desire, knowing that I really wanted to get to another place as a part of my journey.
Right.
Even though I was green, they saw the desire, and I see that. I see that through the years I've taught some and been a part of so many situations that I see that sometimes in a lot of young people. And of course, is recognizing that desire, that genuine passion, that of course later has to be reflected in the work that you do, but it's giving people a chance to see and to challenge their dreams, challenge what they want. And after that, it's all up to them, obviously. But that's what they saw in me. They saw that there's a little something that said, well, maybe this guy, let's give this guy a chance. He really wants to, even though he's green, he really wants to show us that maybe he wants to try. So I always appreciated that out of my mentors. That
is beautiful. Boy, that depth of that passion, John. First of all, you still have that depth of that passion. I can feel it when you speak, and I hear it in your music. It's so powerful.
Thank you.
It's amazing when you think about it with what you have done and who you've influenced. I mean, my wife, when I said I was going to sit down and have some time with you, she was in awe of the fact that, my gosh, his music is so deep and so meaningful. So you've reached people at a real high level of emotional connection. That's rare. That's really rare. So that's the first thing I have to say. The second thing is, we've got this young audience that's out here that's listening, and they're influenced by your music and your arrangement and all that you're doing. In closing, what would you say to this next generation that could give them some of the direction and some of the hope and some of that understanding of how you sparked that passion? What could you say to this next generation?
Well, I think something to say to the next generation that maybe can make any type of difference based on my experiences in the music business, especially with what's going on today, is to educate yourself, attach the process of what's going on today in the music business. First, starting with your craft, always. Based on that, then how to navigate that in today's industry, and how to go ahead and work with that. We're living different times that deal with the ever-changing world of how we listen to music, especially popular music. Listen to it, buy it, or just kind of connect with it, period. So that requires then a level of commitment and understanding, completely different than what I had to go through, but still the process is still the same. You got to know you have to learn and know what you're doing, whatever it is that you do. So if you sing, if you play an instrument, you have to know and appreciate and understand your craft. And then now, in today's world, then how do you utilize that, work with your talent, then wrap it into how to present it out there. The upside is that we have in today's blueprint the independence to be able to do it and to actually create our own path. In the past, it was a little more difficult. There was a different structure system to kind of create that type of connection to get your music heard. Today, maybe there's power in independence, and I think young people need to know that. But it starts with kind of knowing what you do. You got to know what you do, who you are. You know, if you sing, rap, play an instrument, you're a programmer, whatever it is, you got to get good at it. And that, which means that you got to put the time and hours to get there. Yeah. And then network yourself accordingly. And that's, in today's world, that means a lot. Yeah. But the independence is there for you to be able to kind of navigate and take advantage of it. Oh my goodness, it's just wonderful.
In my over 50 years of being involved in the music industry, it is inspiring to be someone like yourself who still has that strong, deep passion of that desire to want to continue learning, to want to continue sharing, and to really give back at such a high level that, John, you do not only in your music but in your humanitarian efforts. It's just so fantastic, the people that you're reaching, at the level that you're reaching them.
Thank you.
For that, I thank you so much, John. Thank you so much.
Please, thank you. Thank you.